There's something haunting about the open road. Endless miles of asphalt stretching into nowhere. Families chasing freedom, adventure, the American dream, unaware that in the shadows of the highway someone else was watching. Between 1982 and 1985, a string of disappearances along Interstate 81 in upstate New York would reveal a nightmare no one could have imagined. Ordinary trips turned into horror stories, and the smiling stranger who offered help was the last face many would ever see. This is the story of the highway killer who hunted families on the road. It was the summer of 1982. Gas was cheap, station wagons ruled the road, and family road trips were part of American life. The Carsons, Robert, Elaine, and their 2 kids, were just another family chasing a weekend getaway in the Adirondacks. But somewhere along Route 81 they vanished. At first, police assumed car trouble, maybe an accident. But when the days stretched into weeks and no trace of the family appeared, something darker began to take shape. Then another family, the Marshalls, disappeared under almost identical circumstances. Broken taillight found by the roadside. Empty gas can nearby. Panic began to spread. The media called it the I-81 mystery. Locals whispered a new name, the Highway Hunter. The disappearances became a pattern. Each family was traveling alone, often at night. Each was last seen near a gas station or rest stop, and witnesses always mentioned a man offering help. He was described as friendly, average build, soft-spoken, drove an old green pickup. Police began connecting the dots, tire tracks, fingerprints, and a string of missing person reports stretching across state lines. The FBI stepped in by 1984. They built a psychological profile, a man with deep-seated resentment toward families, particularly fathers. Likely intelligent, methodical, organized, someone who could blend in easily. They were right. His name was Donald Ray Henson, a former mechanic and truck driver. On the surface he was harmless, a quiet man who lived alone outside Binghamton. But inside his garage, investigators would later find a collection of license plates, driver's licenses, and family photos that didn't belong to him. He wasn't just stalking highways. He was hunting memories, stealing fragments of family life he never had. The truth came to light in the fall of 1985. A routine traffic stop changed everything. Trooper David McAllister pulled over a green pickup with a broken taillight near Syracuse. The driver, Henson, was calm, polite, almost rehearsed. But when the officer noticed a child's toy wedged under the passenger seat, his instincts told him something was off. Within hours, a search warrant was issued. What investigators found inside Henson's garage would haunt them for decades. A wall covered in Polaroids of highways, license plates arranged like trophies, and boxes filled with possessions from the missing families. One photo stood out, the Carsons family car, parked on a deserted stretch of Route 81, taken after the date they were last seen. When confronted, Henson didn't deny it. He simply said, "They had what I never did." The case became one of the largest multi-state manhunts in the region's history. Henson's background told the story the evidence couldn't. Abandoned as a child, moved through foster homes, and fired from multiple mechanic jobs for aggressive behavior. He'd grown to hate what he could never be, a father, a husband, a protector. To him, the families on the road represented everything he'd lost. Every trip he took down I-81 was a twisted ritual of control, a way to rewrite his pain. The trial began in 1986. Prosecutors laid out a mountain of evidence: stolen items, photographs, tire impressions, and the chilling consistency of his method. The jury took less than 4 hours. Donald Henson was convicted on 7 counts of murder and multiple counts of abduction. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. The case left the community scarred. For years, families avoided traveling the highway at night. Rest stops added new lighting, cameras, and emergency call boxes. One of the surviving relatives of the Carsons later said, "He didn't just take their lives. He took our trust in the road." In 1999, Henson died behind bars of natural causes. But his story remains a haunting warning of how quickly safety can disappear, how the most ordinary moments can turn into something unimaginable. Soft, reflective tone. We trust the road to take us places, to connect us, to lead us home. But sometimes darkness hides where we least expect it. The highway killer's story isn't just about violence. It's about the fragility of trust and the people who prey on it. In the end, justice was served. But the echoes of those lost families still haunt the highways they once traveled, silent reminders of how quickly the familiar can become terrifying. This is True Crime Vault, where we open the cases the world tried to forget.